I had to hop back on here because now I'm taping at 11:45 in the morning, and Matt Eberflus is officially out as the Chicago Bears head coach. And there's a lot of questions here. First one is, why did it take so long? Second one, why did it take so long this morning? Why did he do his press conference? Why did they make him get in front of cameras on a Zoom, take questions from reporters, and have to do the company line of, this is just business as usual, I'm preparing for San Francisco? What transpired in the last 2 hours that changed the thinking? And if you were in the process, let's just say legally with lawyers or anything like that with contracts, let's say you were in the process of it, why don't you just postpone the press conference? And another question that I'm going to have is, I doubt that it'll probably happen on a Friday. We'll see heading into this Saturday night taping while you're listening to this in your car over the weekend. Is Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren at any point going to speak on this? But Matt Eberflus is finally out. We've done all the stats here. I've railed on him week after week after week. We finally got our wish. Christmas came early. A day after Thanksgiving, Matt Eberflus is no longer the Chicago Bears head coach. Thomas Brown takes over as the interim. Now keep in mind, as I mentioned before, just because Matt Eberflus is out doesn't mean this season is going to turn on its head. Playoffs is out the window. But the Chicago Bears aren't just going to go out there and start, beating the brakes off of teams. The main story here is the Matt Eberflus era is just over. Not a lot is going to change with this team. You're getting an opportunity to see what Thomas Brown has over the next couple of weeks. We got to keep a head on a swivel here, Bears fans, and have to look with a critical eye of actually tangibly what is Thomas Brown bringing to this team. We can't just walk into this and say, well, he's done a decent job, or even graded on the Eberflus scale of, well, he's done better than Matt Eberflus, because let's be honest, that simply isn't good enough. Thomas Brown needs to blow our hair back. I mean, he really probably needs to win every single game heading out. But even if he does, that's the Antonio Pierce treatment that he got with the Las Vegas Raiders, and look how that's working out. If you want to fall in love with Thomas Brown, that's fine, but we have to look at him with a critical eye moving forward, because this next coaching hire is so crucial. It's not just the franchise, but the future of Caleb Williams and Bears fans everywhere. We cannot screw this up. And as I talked with Dan McNeil in the first segment, interim head coaches that come in and then get the full-time head coaching job, it rarely works out for that situation. He did a great job of mentioning Bruce Arians. The only reason why I didn't put Bruce Arians in this particular category is because Bruce Arians took over for Chuck Pagano because Chuck Pagano was sick. And they were playing not just for Chuck, but Bruce Arians was a very capable head coach. So yes, he took on a bit of the interim tag, but really he was a steward for a role that Chuck Pagano simply could not fulfill at that time, and then did become the full-time head coach when Chuck Pagano could not come back. The three interim head coaches that got the job, kept the job, and made the playoffs are as follows. Mike Tice taking over for Denny Green. Eventually went 8-8, somehow lucked his way into the playoffs and lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Minnesota Vikings did it again. Brad Childress out. Leslie Frazier in. In his second season as head coach, went 10-6, took them to the playoffs. And then finally, the big one, a 1-7 Dallas Cowboys team with Wade Phillips. Fire Wade Phillips. In comes Jason Garrett. He goes 5-3, and then they keep him for the next 10 years. To his credit, Jason Garrett went to the playoffs 3 times, but a lot of mediocrity, a lot of 7-9s, a ton of 8-8s in his resume. And ask any Dallas Cowboys fan how that worked out for them. So the track record for Thomas Brown taking over this job, keeping it into next year, and the Bears eventually having playoff success, there's not a lot of NFL history here, people. I don't want to knock Thomas Brown before he's even taken the job, but we have to look at this with a critical eye. And just because he's a breath of fresh air does not mean that he automatically earns brownie points to somehow get his way back into the job and get it for a full-time thing. Final thoughts on Matt Eberflus. Nice man. Decent defensive coordinator. They had a lot of talent on that team. They did play well towards the end, the second half of last year. Turnovers were a little more lacking this year, even though they got a big one from Tyreek Stevenson that helped turn the game around yesterday. But again, in those final moments when you need your head coach to be one step ahead of everybody else, Matt Eberflus was always 2 steps behind. Slow to start seasons, slow to start games, slow to make adjustments, slow to make moments work in situations towards the end of games to put his team in position to win. Terrible on challenges. awful against the NFC North, terrible in one-score games. Any category where an NFL head coach goes out and makes his money and earns his salt, Matt Eberflus unfortunately came up short. And I hate to say it, Bears fans, but my hope is that this is the Chicago Bears season we don't deserve, but the Chicago Bears season that we need right now. Because let's be honest, Chicago Bears were terrible. Justin Fields put up a bunch of rushing yards. We got the number 1 pick. That following year, Justin Fields struggles, but we like what we see from our defense. We again luck into the number 1 pick again to get Caleb Williams. None of that stuff was fun, but it's led us to this moment. And now Matt Eberflus is out. We can move forward with someone with Caleb Williams, and hopefully that gives us a chance to finally get this thing right. We needed this season, hopefully, in the grand scheme of things, because if they had kept Matt Eberflus, we would have found out way too late. He's not the man for the job. Not taking us to the playoffs, certainly is not taking us to the Super Bowl. And we finally ripped the Band-Aid off. And hopefully that means good things for the Chicago Bears moving forward. And for God's sakes, ownership, to the McCaskies, please, I'm begging you, let Ryan Poles do his job. I promise you. If that means spending a little extra money on a proven head coach, let them do it. Because guess what? You've been paying plenty of money to coaches that no longer are with the organization with remainder of contract dollars. Buy some cost certainty here. Take a swing, change things up just once. Try it just one time. With this quarterback, Chicago Bears fans, we are absolutely begging you. He doesn't have to be a nice guy. He can make you feel uncomfortable. Guess what? Sometimes the most uncomfortable situations lead to the greatest of results. We can't be patting each other on the back here and smiling. And think about it like this. Think of the few uncomfortable years that you would have to endure some head coach like a Mike Vrabel of the world that maybe you don't like, but if you go out and you win a Super Bowl, the rest of your life you can live in comfort. All right? People will shake your hand and smile at you everywhere you go if you could stomach being uncomfortable just for a little bit by going out there and hiring someone that actually knows how to run a football program, that commands the respect of his players, that's seen it all, that knows every situation, that's 4 or 5 plays ahead, that is playing to win and putting our quarterback in the best position to succeed as he gets better and begins to learn the ropes in situations that he needs to do to accomplish what he needs to get towards, which is Pro Bowls, Super Bowls, playoff wins, success for the Chicago Bears, a franchise quarterback we can finally be happy with. So Matt Eberflus is out. Not surprised here. Happy it happened. Tweeted it last week, even though it never happened before in franchise history. I knew there was some way that Matt Eberflus was going to put his fingerprints on another Chicago Bears loss, and lo and behold, it happened. It finally happened. A change. Something they've never done in franchise history. Fired someone midseason. Now let's keep that change rolling up at Hallis Hall. Let's keep doing things that we're normally not accustomed to seeing from ownership in terms of who we hire next, about how we attack this next phase. And Ryan Poles, man, this is it for you, dude. I took the crown off your head a couple weeks ago. We're not calling you King Poles anymore, all right? This is your opportunity right now to finally get it right. And if not, you're going to be out of a job, my friend. So this is it. No stone unturned. Cast a wide net. There are no guardrails. There should be no provisions. There should be no dollar amount. That is too much to go out and get the guy that you want. Not what conventional wisdom says. Not what the McCaskies like. The guy that you think is best for Caleb Williams and this football team. A guy that you think is going to be a winner. I want a guy with experience personally. And I am going to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. But I am moving forward. I am going to be more skeptical than I have been before when we bring in these new guys. Especially when we bring in a guy that I've never heard of before. So that's it. We're going to roll forward. We're going to try and seamlessly transition to me talking about what happened with the Detroit Lions in that game, why Matt Eberflus fell short, illustrate and add more context to why he is no longer the head coach of the Chicago Bears, and vent a little bit more frustrations. So this is a bit of a time jump. I apologize. This is the holiday. I hope you guys understand. But this is a bit of a collage, if you will, of all these different perspectives and feelings that are happening in real time, going through the process of waking up, thinking Matt Eberflus is going to be fired, him doing a press conference, still being the head coach, me interviewing Dan McNeil, me talking about the Lions beating the Chicago Bears, and Caleb Williams almost bringing them back from the depths to tie that game until Matt Eberflus screws it up, to me now doing Matt Eberflus's goodbye message to the city of Chicago.